Have you ever wondered why you absorb everyone's emotions until you can't breathe? The empath, that hypersensitive soul who feels others' pain as their own, isn't experiencing a spiritual gift. According to Carl Jung, you're trapped in humanity's most devastating psychological pattern. Right now, in this age of collective anxiety and narcissistic rage, empaths are drowning faster than ever before. What if this overwhelming sensitivity was actually your greatest power waiting to awaken? Here's what changes everything. Empaths aren't broken. Healers meant to absorb the world's pain. Jung discovered you're actually mirrors for the collective shadow. All the darkness, shame, and fear humanity refuses to face. That crushing empathy overwhelming you? Your unconscious mind has become a dumping ground for everyone else's projected emotions, the exhaustion, the anxiety attacks, the feeling of losing yourself. You're not weak, you're carrying psychological burdens that were never yours to bear. This explains the epidemic of narcissist-empath trauma bonds destroying sensitive souls everywhere. They hunt for empaths because they need someone to carry their unbearable shadow, someone whose boundaries are so porous they'll absorb anything. But here's what Jung revealed. When an empath stops being a victim and starts consciously reflecting back what they've absorbed, they become more dangerous than any narcissist could imagine. Your suffering isn't meaningless. It's a signal screaming for transformation. Through Jung's process of individuation, you'll discover how to transmute this curse into sovereign power. You'll learn why your sensitivity exists, how to forge unbreakable boundaries, and why awakened empaths terrify those who once manipulated them. Ready to discover why you were never meant to heal others? Let's begin with the unbearable weight of feeling everything. The empath absorbs emotions like a sponge soaking up water, not by choice, but by nature. You walk into a room and immediately feel the anger radiating from someone you've never met. Their anxiety becomes your racing heartbeat. Their depression settles into your chest like a stone. This heightened emotional intelligence isn't the gift everyone says it is. According to Jung's research, it's a state of psychological porousness that leaves you defenseless against the world's pain. Here's what nobody tells you about being an empath. Your suffering isn't just yours. You're carrying emotions that were never meant for you to hold. That chronic exhaustion? It's emotional absorption overload. The anxiety triggers that seem to come from nowhere. You're picking up on collective unconscious material through what scientists call emotional contagion. Your hypersensitivity to others' moods isn't mystical. It's your mirror neurons working overtime, creating a psychological state where you literally cannot distinguish between your pain and theirs. The empath experiences life through a nervous system with no filter. Where others have boundaries, you have open channels. This emotional intelligence becomes a curse when every interaction drains your energy reserves. Depression cycles deepen because you're processing not just your shadow, but fragments of everyone else's. The overwhelm isn't weakness. It's the natural result of perceiving beyond normal human limits. But here's the profound truth hidden in your suffering. This curse has an ancient purpose. The empath serves as humanity's unconscious mirror, and that unbearable sensitivity. It's about to become your greatest strength, if you survive what comes next. The shadow, that's what Carl Jung called the darkness you're absorbing as an empath. This isn't just negative emotions. The shadow represents everything humanity refuses to acknowledge about itself. Jung discovered that we all carry this psychic repository of disowned traits. But here's the revelation. Empaths don't just feel others' shadows. They become living containers for the collective unconscious. Carl Jung mapped this hidden landscape of the human psyche through decades of analytical psychology. He found that the unconscious mind operates through projection mechanisms. We literally cast our repressed darkness onto others. That person whose anger overwhelms you, they're projecting their shadow onto your permeable psyche. Jung called this the most primitive defense mechanism, and empaths, with their psychological porousness, are the perfect screens for these projections. The collective unconscious goes deeper than personal shadows. It's the inherited psychic structure containing all humanity's repressed darkness, every societal shadow, every archetype pattern of universal suffering. When you walk into a room and feel inexplicable dread, you're tapping into collective repression that spans generations. Jung's model shows that empaths unconsciously mirror these hidden aspects, making the invisible visible through their own suffering. This is why shadow work feels impossible for empaths. You're sorting through shadows that aren't even yours. The unconscious mind can't differentiate between authentic personal material and absorbed collective darkness. Jung warned that without conscious awareness, sensitive individuals become psychic refuse bins for their environment's disowned traits. But understanding this changes everything. Once you recognize that you're reflecting the shadow, not generating it, you can begin the real work. The question becomes, what if your curse is actually humanity's desperate attempt to see itself? Narcissism hunts for empaths like a heat-seeking missile finds its target. The shadow you've been absorbing? It has a name, a face, and a grandiose mask that hides a shame core so deep it could swallow the world. The narcissist doesn't just manipulate, they create an entire false persona designed to channel their unbearable shadow directly into your permeable psyche. Here's what Jung's research reveals. Empaths and narcissists form a toxic bond through mutual projection. The narcissist projects their vulnerability, their fear of exposure, their repressed humanity onto the empath. Meanwhile, empaths unconsciously project their own golden shadow, their power, confidence, and healthy self-interest onto the narcissist's deception patterns. It's a perfect storm of psychological manipulation. The gaslighting begins subtly. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. These manipulation tactics aren't random. They're designed to make empaths doubt their own perceptions, to weaken the boundaries that are already fragile. The narcissist engages in emotional vampirism, literally feeding off the empath's energy exchange while maintaining their grandiose mask. But here's the devastating truth. Narcissism needs the empath's mirror to avoid confronting its own shadow. Every anger projection, every moment of rage is actually the narcissist's terror of seeing their true self. The empath becomes a psychic channeling system for all the narcissist refuses to feel. This codependent fusion creates a closed loop where neither party has to face their authentic self. Empaths often spend years trapped in these dynamics, believing they can heal or fix the narcissist. But you cannot heal someone who uses your compassion as a weapon against you. The manipulation intensifies precisely when the empath gets stronger, when they threaten to stop being a convenient container for projected shame. The only way out? It starts with a betrayal so profound it shatters every illusion, and in that shattering, something extraordinary begins. Individuation begins where betrayal shatters your last illusion. That devastating moment when the narcissist's mask finally falls. It's not destruction, it's the first stage of psychological alchemy. Jung called this the death and rebirth that every empath must undergo to reclaim their authentic self. Here's what happens. The suffering you've endured becomes your prima materia, the raw material for transformation. In alchemy, ancient practitioners turned lead into gold through specific stages. For empaths, the process is psychological. You're transmuting pain into wisdom through conscious integration. The overwhelming emotions that once drowned you, They are the catalyst for developing psychological sovereignty. The self, not your ego, but your true center, emerges through shadow work that's uniquely challenging for empaths. You must sort through layers of absorbed projections asking, is this mine or theirs? This separatio, the alchemical separation, is excruciating. Every emotion must be examined, every pattern questioned. But as you reclaim your authentic feelings from the pile of others' projections, something profound occurs. Individuation transforms how empaths experience sensitivity. Instead of unconscious absorption, you develop conscious discernment. The boundaries you forge aren't walls. They're alchemical vessels, containers strong enough to hold your own psychological gold while remaining permeable to genuine connection. This is ego dissolution in service of something greater, the emergence of your sovereign self. Jung revealed that suffering serves a purpose. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. For empaths, this truth cuts deeper. Your pain wasn't random or meaningless. It was the psyche's desperate attempt to force transformation. Every narcissistic relationship, every energy vampire, every moment of overwhelming absorption was pushing you toward this alchemical moment. The alchemy completes when you realize you were never meant to heal others by taking on their shadows. You were meant to model what it looks like when someone does their own shadow work, achieves individuation, and emerges whole. The empath who emerges from individuation is unrecognizable. Gone is the victim who absorbed everyone's pain. In their place stands a sovereign being wielding conscious compassion, like a precision instrument. This transformed empath doesn't lose their sensitivity. They master it, turning what was once a curse into shamanic wisdom that sees through every mask. Compassion changes completely after shadow integration. No longer the desperate need to fix everyone. It becomes boundaried love, powerful precisely because it has limits. The awakened empath practices discerning empathy, choosing when and how to engage rather than being hijacked by others' emotions. This conscious compassion can witness suffering without becoming it, hold space without losing self, love without enabling dysfunction. Here's what makes the sovereign empath dangerous to unconscious systems. They mirror truth. Not the comfortable lies people tell themselves, but the authentic reality hidden beneath personas. When an individuated empath enters a room, their integrated shadow acts like a tuning fork, resonating with what's real and exposing what's false. They've become a mirror of consciousness that reflects back exactly what others are projecting. Truth flows differently through someone who's done their shadow work. The empath's sole sovereignty means they're no longer available for projection. When someone tries to make them a container for disowned darkness, it simply doesn't stick. This truth-telling power isn't aggressive, it's the natural result of embodied wisdom, of someone who knows exactly who they are and who they aren't. The mysticism here is grounded, practical. The awakened empath demonstrates that authentic connection is only possible between two whole beings. Their resonance mastery allows for profound intimacy without fusion, compassion without self-sacrifice, truth without cruelty. They've alchemized their sensitivity into spiritual authority that threatens every false structure, every toxic dynamic, every unconscious pattern. This is why narcissists fear the awakened empath. This is why conscious boundaries feel like rejection to energy vampires. The sovereign sees through everything. The empath who completes individuation doesn't just transform themselves, they activate something in the collective unconscious. Like dropping a stone in still water, one awakened sovereign creates ripples through humanity's shared psychic field. This isn't mysticism. It's the observable pattern Jung discovered in mythological structures across all cultures. The collective unconscious responds to awakened empaths like a sleeping giant stirring. These sovereign mirrors walking among us trigger what parapsychology calls morphic resonance. When one person integrates their shadow, it becomes easier for others. The archetype of the wounded healer, having transformed into conscious sovereignty in one individual, updates itself in the collective dream of humanity. Here's where it gets profound. Archetype patterns are evolving. The old empath archetype, the suffering servant, the perpetual victim, is dying. In its place emerges the sovereign mirror, the conscious catalyst. Even artificial empathy in our technology reflects this shift. AI systems learning to recognize emotions, social media algorithms detecting mental health patterns. They're digital shadows of the empath's natural function, technological mirrors of our collective need to be seen. The collective unconscious is using every channel available. Modern mystics on social media, shamanic wisdom in therapeutic practices, practical magic disguised as life coaching. These are all expressions of the same archetypal activation. The empath's journey from victim to sovereign is becoming humanity's roadmap for consciousness evolution. When multiple awakened empaths exist in the same space, something extraordinary happens. They create what Jung called a constellation, an activated archetypal field where truth becomes unavoidable, where shadows can't hide, where authentic connection becomes the only option. This is mass awakening in action, not through force but through resonance. The archetype has spoken. The age of unconscious absorption is ending. The age of conscious mirrors has begun. Every empath who completes their individuation journey adds to this collective intelligence, this morphic field of awakening. You're not just healing yourself. You're updating humanity's operating system. The empath you are now would terrify the person you were 6 chapters ago. Remember drowning in everyone's emotions, crushed by their unconscious projections? Now you stand sovereign, wielding conscious boundaries that transform your sensitivity from curse to precision power. When someone projects their shadow onto you tomorrow, you won't absorb it. You'll reflect it back with fierce compassion, forcing them to face what they've disowned. This is your new reality. Crowds energize rather than drain you. Narcissists flee from your truth, and that crushing anxiety has become your early warning system for projection. You've mastered what Carl Jung called individuation, the alchemical transformation of an unconscious victim into a conscious catalyst. Here's your choice. Will you use your empath nature to stay small and safe? Or will you dare to be the mirror that awakens everyone around you? The world desperately needs conscious empaths who've integrated their shadow and emerged unshakable. Comment below. What shadow will you stop carrying today? And if you're ready to master the depths of Jungian psychology, subscribe for more transformative insights. The empath was never meant to heal by absorbing pain. You were born to awaken consciousness itself.